Next on Time for Living, the Zen of Gardening. It's more than just vegetables and flowers.
Find out why these recent immigrants, all of them seniors, are getting this week's Second Effort Salute.
And get set to head south of the border so we can take you to Tijuana and Baja California in today's Traveling Around segment. All this and more next on Time for Living. Trailer.
And I'm Janet Jagalian. Welcome to Time for Living.
Well, every week we tell you about things of interest to people 50 and above.
And they're like health issues, financial issues, lifestyle issues, you name it. If it's of interest to older adults, it's of interest to us here at Time for Living.
Well, one thing that interests a lot of older people is gardening. Now, it may be a huge backyard vegetable garden or a tiny window box. People just love tending the soil and making things grow. But gardening is much more than just putting seeds into the ground. As Time for Living Barbara Brilliance discovered, time for living is gardening and many things to many people.
Hilda Morrill started gardening with her grandmother when she was just a child. Today, 50 years later, she still loves tending her plants and flowers. Visiting Hilda's yard is like stepping into the Garden of Eden, but it took many hours to convert this former driveway into the splendor that exists today.
It's fun, it's relaxing, it makes you go out and commune with nature, so to speak. You're always learning wonderful things about plants and about people, because I find that most people really like gardening and they like to share. So it's a nice way of meeting people too.
And there are other benefits as well. Beside creating a place of beauty, gardening can be good for you, both physically and mentally. For Hilda, gardening is not just a hobby. It's a way of helping her deal with a tragic loss.
My husband and I lost one of our daughters recently in a tragic accident. And one of the things that we did after her accident was build a pond in our yard in her memory. We call it the Laurie Pond. And first of all, the actual work in doing it, digging it out and planting it, etc. That was very good, but it gave us a purpose to really get this done. We wanted it done before the first anniversary of her death, and then we had the whole family come, and we all shared. As sad as her loss was for us, I found that everyone's coming together and looking at the Laurie Pond was very special for us.
Hilda is passionate about gardening. She keeps a daily journal for each season's plantings. This way, she can keep track of her efforts and reminisce as the years go by. Hilda loves her garden for many reasons, not the least of which is
they don't talk back. They don't give you any aggravation. They're just wonderful.
Some people, like Hilda Morrill, have been gardening all their lives, but others have only recently found the time to smell the roses. Okay, you want to begin gardening. Do you have to be an expert? Not at all. All you have to do is go to your local garden shop, and they'll be more than happy to help.
As long as you take care of the plant, treat it like a living thing as it is, and feed it, give it something to drink, and give it a little bit of attention by exposure and daylight and such. And the plant, if you're good to the plant's going to be good to you.
Bob Seltzer is the founder and co-owner of Seltzer's Garden City in Newton, Massachusetts. He says that anyone can get into gardening, and there's no such thing as a brown thumb.
it's not a job for people that go away for absentee management. I mean, the plant material always requires some care, whether it be watering, fertilizing, pruning. It's nothing that can be left alone. It has to be treated as a living object.
Bob knows his stuff. He's been in the business for 55 years and sees many older people coming into his shop.
People that have retired are people that spent half their life in the office and in the country club are now getting more and more involved in gardening. They enjoy it, whether it be I want to grow my own tomatoes or I want to grow my own roses. If you enjoy growing roses, you just find the proper exposure, or you inquire about the proper exposure. You plant your roses, you learn to prune them, you learn to feed them, you learn to water them. And you don't have to learn to enjoy them because they're already beautiful for you.
Today, with many people interested in healthy home cooking, growing herbs has become one of the hottest trends. The best part is that you can grow them right in your own kitchen.
We carry a line of probably 30 different herbs, which we refer to as the cut and come herbs. The more you cut them and use them, the more they will grow on for you.
Gardening can be a solo activity, or it can be a social event.
At 82 years old, it just gives me something to get out from that senior citizen building. And it's just like paradise to be out here. It's so peaceful and quiet. And so I just love fiddling in the soil. And it gives me a new lease on life.
Rose Brown is one of 25 older gardeners who has a plot in this community garden in Roxbury, Massachusetts. Just 15 years ago, this oasis in the middle of the inner city was a neighborhood eyesore. But thanks to the efforts of the older residents, that eyesore is now the pride of the community. Overseeing this community garden is 92-year-old Ed Cooper. Mr. Cooper says that there are several benefits that he and the other gardeners get from working the soil.
It's a matter of dollars and cents. C-E-N-T-S. Because we raise fresh vegetables. Vegetables are high. We save money. We eat fresh vegetables all summer. We freeze some of it that we don't eat in the summertime. Another big advantage we get out of it is conviviality. We come out here in the last part of May, the middle of May. We haven't seen each other, some of us, for the whole winter. We talk about what's been happening during the winter. We talk about our children, our grandchildren. And the fact that we get together is an important factor, because a lot of old people just sit in the house and do nothing but forget about themselves. But we get out here and we enjoy each other, and we just feel that this is not only good for us, but it's good for everybody.
This is eggplant. This is onion. This is cabbage, green pepper.
For Victor Pomari, this garden is a very special place. His late wife was the first person to plant here. Now, the rose garden in front of this land is dedicated in her memory.
To me, being in here and knowing that she loved it, to me, when I get in here, it seems as if she stayed here, she's still with me. It doesn't seem as though she's gone. She's in here, you know. I feel that way. So she's always near me.
You don't need to live near a community garden or have a spacious backyard to enjoy this popular activity. All you need is an empty coffee can, some topsoil, a sunny window, along with an appreciation for something beautiful. I'm Barbara Brilliant. Time for Living.
It's a pleasure to welcome Bruce Roberts to Time for Living. Bruce is the Director of Education, Research, and Outreach at the Massachusetts Horticultural Society. And Bruce manages a highly successful group of master gardeners and supervises the Horticultural Society's adult education programs. And in just a few minutes, we'll begin taking your calls for Bruce Roberts. Our number here at Time for Living is 617-244-3344. So please pick up the phone and give us a call. Welcome, Bruce, to Time for Living.
Pleasure to be here.
You know, about back in the 60s and 70s, having a really lush, beautiful lawn was not a big deal. But it seems as though now it's growing and growing in importance, not only in individuals' lives for self-fulfillment, but actually I think people are thinking that it's almost a self-image of themselves.
Right. Lawns are a real tradition, primarily in England, and that those traditions came to this country with the British when they first came. We in Massachusetts live in a forest. That's what this naturally is. And so lawns sometimes are difficult because trees is what the native area here wants to go back to. So sometimes it's a battle.
It is a constant struggle, but I'm seeing that a lot of my neighbors are actually putting in sprinkler systems. They're devoting a lot more time. They're having professional people come in and care for their lawns, or they're comparing notes with neighbors who are doing it on their own to find out what it is they're doing that they're not doing. So it's taken on a real importance in the community.
It is, and it's an awful lot of fun to do, as well as a source of pride and beautification.
You don't have to be an expert, though, right? You can go to your garden center and ask important questions and be able to do the same sort of thing.
That's right. That's right. And there's lots of sources of information. We at the Horticultural Society consider ourselves one of the main sources of information, but there are excellent books and programs at other institutions.
Do you want to be bothered with simple questions at the Horticultural Society, or are you willing to put up with, questions that perhaps to you may not be that important, but to the individual are very important as to how to get started?
When I was teaching, used to say that the only stupid question is the one that doesn't get asked. So we are interested at our garden line in any question that a person has, because everyone starts off in gardening, no matter how good a gardener they are, they started somewhere, and those initial questions need to be answered before you can go on.
Do most people perhaps start off in too grand a scale and perhaps get discouraged because they've bitten off more than they can chew?
I think so, and an awful lot of people go about landscaping their yards in a sort of a backwards way.
What do you mean by that?
Well, they'll go to a garden center and they'll, on a nice, beautiful day in May, and walk around and buy plants that they like, and then take them home and try and find a place to put them.
Instead of planning the other way around.
Instead of planning the other way around. They would never buy a piece of furniture for their living room without knowing the size and the shape and the colors and lots of different things, but they will buy plants all the time and go home, and you're dealing with a living thing that needs specific requirements, and maybe you have specific requirements for an area, and that's where a person needs to start, and not start at the garden center.
So you're saying that you should have a plan of some sort, and perhaps if you haven't got all the information you need as to what is going to grow particularly well, you can go and talk to a professional about it.
Either a plan or at least an idea. You shouldn't be driven into that garden center by that 65 or 70 degree Saturday morning that just brings you in, and now you just start buying things.
You take out that plastic charge card,
right.
And suddenly you have enough trees to make an orchard of some sort. Speaking of which, I think a lot of people are doing a lot more shopping around when it comes to buying more expensive plants, looking for good buys, whereas before they would not know one from another. In fact, there are people I know who don't know the difference between an azalea and a rhododendron, and it doesn't matter to them really, as long as they get some pretty flowers in the spring.
Right. The thing people should remember about price of plants, when you're talking about woody plants, trees and shrubs, is price is determined by the length of time it was in the nursery. So things that are expensive have a tendency to be slow growing, and things that are inexpensive are fast growing. So if you buy a 3-foot plant that was very inexpensive and you put it up next to your foundation, chances are the ultimate height of that particular plant is going to be 90 feet.
Right up over the roof.
That's right.
For sure. Not to mention what the roots might do to your foundation. So these are things you have to learn through trial and error, I'm sure.
Right, or a little research.
Right. What about vegetable gardens? Should people perhaps begin, again, on a small scale before they begin to get that rototiller in and do 100 square feet or something?
Right. I think probably that's where they should start the smallest, the most. Get an area that's maybe 10 foot by by 10 or 15 or 20 feet, and till it really well. The best thing to do with any garden that's new is to have a soil test run on it. The University of Massachusetts, I'll give a plug for them, their soil test lab at Amherst will do a test for $7 that
Is that the one you can actually send your soil, the sample?
Send a sample about the size that would fit in a sandwich bag to the soil test lab at UMass Amherst, and for $7 they test it for all the nutrients, for pH and for lead. And it's the biggest bargain that we can get from the state.
For a long time, I remember the agricultural schools would provide that service as well if you happen to live near one.
Right.
And they would advertise that as well.
Yeah, it's pretty much all been concentrated at Amherst now, but it's only
That's good to hear.
You can mail it away.
I understand this is now a $34 billion business when it comes to equipment and supplies and merchandise that people are now buying to put into their yards or into around their homes. And so this is really, it's something that has grown tremendously. Is it just in the Northeast it's going this way, or is this something that's happening around the country?
Oh, nationwide it is, and there's indications that it hasn't come close to stopping.
So there's got to be a lot more than just getting improvement in your real estate value that is driving people to plant and to nurture the soil and plants. There must be some other redeeming value to it.
There's real enjoyment in just having an effect on your own environment. To go out and spend some time, first it's fabulous exercise. It's not a repetitive thing where you're doing the same motion over and over again, where you can get injuries that
Except
way.
The first time you do it in the spring, be prepared for an aching back.
Right. And if you do, I just spent a lot of time planting a lot of annuals at a garden, and my left knee may never be the same.
Is that right? But it manages, doesn't it?
That's right.
It gets better,
right.
And that kind of pain you forget about next year.
That's right.
You get right back to it.
And the changes that you see. You know, you plant something that's very, very small, and then little by little over time you watch the growth of it, and I think there's a tremendous amount of pleasure.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's stress reduction. It's all the good benefits that you're looking for in being out in the fresh air as well.
That's right.
So we're going to be talking more about this, and when Time for Living continues, we'll take your calls for Bruce Roberts. If you have any questions about how to get started in gardening or about the Massachusetts Horticultural Society, please give us a call because we'd love to hear from you. Our phone number here at Time for Living is 617-244-3344. And please stay with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Time for Living. I'm speaking with Bruce Roberts of the Massachusetts Horticultural Society, and you can join in our conversation by giving us a call at 617-244-3344. Let's talk a bit about the Horticultural Society and what it does for people here in Massachusetts. I know it's been around a good long time.
Right, about 135 years. We offer a lot of educational programs, courses and symposiums and lectures and workshops.
Do they run the gamut in price, so if you don't have a great deal of money, you can still enjoy the benefits of what you have to offer?
And not only the gamut of price, but also we have beginner courses and more advanced courses and things like that.
You also take trips too, I understand.
We just had a group come back from England, from the Chelsea Flower Show and some gardens in Scotland, and we're hoping for maybe one to Holland next spring. But we do have trips, and then we have more modest trips in the area, tours of places like Mount Auburn and even some slide tours.
We'll talk about more of those in just a moment, but let's take a call from Rosie of Northampton. You're on Time for a Living, Rosie.
Yes, Bruce, I have a question for you.
Great.
I have a lilac bush that is grown by the side of my house, and I was wondering, when is the best time to transplant it? I'd like to transplant the bush. Right now, it is blossoming.
Yeah, this would be the worst time.
Worst time?
The worst time. When you want to transplant that prior to what's known as bud swell in the spring. So end of March, beginning of April, before the growth buds begin to swell on that, you can take that out of the ground and practically do it bare root. You wouldn't have to worry about much of a soil ball on it. Dig the hole for it, put it in the ground. As soon as the buds swell, you get a flush of root growth, and that would be the best time to do it.
Fall would not be recommended?
No.
No?
Why is that?
Because the plant's not going to be established going into the winter.
Because its roots can't get established at that point.
And you're going to get heaving due to freezing and thawing during the winter, and whatever benefit you would get from that dormant planting, you will get from a late March, early April planting, and it's not going to have to spend the time before you get the root growth.
Rosie, how tall is it now?
That's what I was just going to say. It's almost as tall. I got a overhang on my house, and it's right up there, and I was wondering, as soon as it...
Can she cut it back?
That's what I was going to do
spring?
after the flowers go off, to cut it down, trim it.
Anytime you want to prune anything to make it smaller, do it while it's in leaf.
In leaf.
If you want to prune something to stimulate growth, do it just prior to it going into leaf. So if you really want to make it smaller, take whatever section of that lilac is the large one that you want to contain, and cut it even right back to the ground if you think that would improve its appearance.
If I do that, cut it down to the ground, come springtime or when it's supposed to flower, would it flower?
It may. If you get enough, sucker growth from around that central piece, you may get flowers. There may be a year or two delay to get something old enough.
But you can't kill it, is what he's saying, I guess.
Yeah. But sometimes if you cut it at like 4 feet, you end up with this large, ugly stub there, which
is not attractive. You're right. Rosie, thank you very much for your call.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye now. Does that apply also to evergreens and all deciduous trees as far as when to transplant, when to move them from one place to another?
For the most part, early spring, before you get growth, is the best time to transplant most things.
Now, if people have questions, they can call the Horticultural Society, and we have the number that an individual can reach the Horticultural Society by computer on the HortLink with your modem. You can call 617-536-0616, or for more information about the HortLink, you can call 617-536-9280, extension 238. You're on the computers too. How about that? Let's take another call. Steve from Somerville, you're on Time for Living.
Hi, I have a question about the container gardens. What type of ingredients, do you start off with gravel, then mulch, and or soil? And then, I mean, what's the general rule for filling up like a large half-barrel container?
Anytime you deal with putting soil in a confined area, you need to have much larger aggregates within the soil. You need larger pieces of the soil so that you get more aeration. Normally, it's recommended that an entirely artificial soil be used.
Even for outdoors?
Even for outdoors.
You mean like what, mixing peat moss in with it? Or?
Right, or things that come already mixed.
In
peat
the packages.
and bark and perlite.
It's all pre-mixed already?
That's right, all pre-mixed. If that's either unacceptable because it's too light or unacceptable because it's too expensive, it should be at least half this type of material.
Okay.
And would you put rocks on the bottom, or isn't that necessary?
No, drainage holes will provide all the drainage a container has.
Okay.
Putting rocks and broken flower pots and things like that is really a misconception that adds to drainage.
Very interesting. Well, good luck to you, Steve.
Okay, thank you very much.
We're speaking about gardening and certainly community gardens as they were portrayed in the piece before we started talking bring to mind how expansive they are now, and how many people who are bound in the city are now able to escape and do this sort of thing as well with community gardens. This must be something that people call the Horticultural Society as well to get going or get them off the ground. Or into the ground.
Right. The demand for space in some is incredible. There are 4 or 5 year waiting periods in some gardens. I think of the Fenway Garden that's near the Horticultural Society. It's very difficult to get a space there. But more and more are being developed.
And if you have any questions, like Joe from Hadley, you have a question for Bruce. Go ahead.
Yes. I have a couple fallen dogwoods. On the leaves are really speckled.
What kind of dogwoods?
Fallen dogwoods.
Oh, yes, okay. The leaves are speckled?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a very, very serious disease right now called dogwood anthracnose.
Right.
And it's feared that it could very well wipe out the dogwood.
Right. I also am losing some of the bottom branches, too, on them.
Yeah, it was initially used to be called lower limb dieback.
Right.
I would say that you, from just what you've told me, you definitely have dogwood anthracnose in your trees.
Right.
Any limbs that appear to be affected, you should remove.
Right. Okay.
You should sterilize whatever you remove that limb with before you make another cut. And however far you think that the disease has gone into the limb, cut further back than that.
Well, good information, and thanks for raising the question, Joe. Good luck with it.
Okay, thank you.
If you have any more questions for the Horticultural Society, you can certainly call their garden line on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday by calling 617-893-0049. And I'm sure that someone will be there most of the time to help answer the questions that people have, because don't be afraid to call and get the important information that you need.
And if you get a busy signal this time of the year, don't be afraid to call back, because a tremendous demand on that telephone line.
Quick question. The importance of a big sunflower at the garden, is that important, or is that just decorative?
A big sunflower,
yeah.
The importance to your morale?
Oh, is that what
or
I thought it would keep disease or something away.
Gee, I'm afraid that I've never heard that, but it would probably it would look great.
Thank you so much. As we say, gardening is a great way to help you stay healthy. But unfortunately, more than 6 million Americans live with some sort of heart disease. That's the leading cause of death in the United States. But there are ways to better cope with heart problems and to find new ways to lead a healthier lifestyle. As Time for Living's Carolyn Murdoch explains in today's Newsbreak segment, that's the word from the Public Health Service.
Cardiac rehabilitation, 2 fancy words that mean something very simple, a way for people with heart problems to live longer, healthier lives. But unfortunately, few of these patients practice it.
Most people know what should be done. Many people find it hard to initiate, to maintain these practices, and that is what cardiac rehabilitation has to offer.
The Public Health Service wants more patients to take proper care of their hearts, so it's issuing guidelines explaining cardiac rehabilitation and its importance. It consists of two components.
One of them involves exercise or exercise training, and it is individually prescribed exercise for patients. The other one is education, counseling, and behavioral interventions.
Education and counseling about such things as nutrition and quitting smoking. The real goal of the guidelines is for people to simply feel better.
Following these kinds of guidelines can improve the independence, the ability to enjoy life, and the ability to participate in social and family functions.
The guidelines aren't only for patients. The Public Health Service has a set to remind healthcare providers, too, that cardiac rehabilitation should be an essential part of the care of heart patients. I'm Carolyn Murdoch. Time for Living.
Now, if you'd like a copy of the cardiac rehabilitation guidelines, you can get them by calling toll-free 1-800-358-9295. And there's still much more ahead on Time for Living. You'll meet some recent immigrants who are using performance as a way to feel at home in a new land. They get today's second effort salute, and that's coming up next.
Well, his foot was asleep.
Let's face it, it's not always being easy as an older person.
Well, society doesn't always recognize the contributions older people are still making. We're trying to change those perceptions with our show.
But just imagine how tough it must be for older people who are recent immigrants to the United States. They face a double stigma, but there are some older newcomers in the Boston area who are not letting misconceptions and prejudice get in their way. They're taking part in a program called Project Echo. Time for Living's Rod Fritz introduces us to these energetic seniors who are getting this week's second effort salute.
These recent immigrants from Cape Verde are showing their new American neighbors a dance celebration known as Cola. Besides bringing their culture to America, these older immigrants are having a good time and learning more about themselves. They are part of Project Echo, which stands for Elders, Culture, History, Ourselves.
Project Echo works with 3 different groups of recently immigrated elders. Most of these folks are non-English speakers. And we have a group from Vietnam, a group from Cape Verde, and a group from Latino or Spanish-speaking countries all over South America.
Performing with their peers helps boost self-esteem and self-worth, and helps the older immigrant deal with the many problems they face.
It's really difficult, especially to come to a country that doesn't speak your language at an advanced age in life. And a lot of these cultures also typically will have multi-generational ways of living, so they come here and they're completely isolated. And it is very difficult if they need medical assistance or legal assistance or any of those kinds of basic services. Many of them are scared of government too, and so one of the things that Project ECHO does is to help the elders learn about the services that are available and link up to those. They love it, and in fact I can tell you that one of the Cape Verdean women said that when she first came to this country she was very sad and lonely, and when she started coming to the group and having a chance to show her traditions, it was like a new life for her, and it really made her come alive again.
The performers have a great love for what they do.
I'm very happy to be here and celebrating my culture, and I feel very, very happy to have the possibility to be on stage and showing others my culture. I feel like I'm 20 years old, be on stage, but I am 70. Our country don't have all the possibilities that America has. So in America, the elders have more value than in our country. Not because they don't value elders in our country, but because they don't have the possibilities that Americans have.
There are many more performances ahead for the seniors taking part in Project ECHO. They'll be sharing their traditions with other senior groups, as well as with school children, and having a great time doing it. I'm Rod Fritz. Time for Living.
What a wonderful program. Those folks are really enthusiastic.
They certainly are. You know, it must be really tough being an older immigrant. A program like Project ECHO sure does help those folks who get used to their new home.
You know, Project ECHO is part of a larger program known as Arts in Progress. And if you'd like more information about Arts in Progress or Project ECHO, you can give them a call. Their number is 617-524-1160.
Or if you know of a group or a person worthy of our second effort salute, please let us know.
Write to us here at Time for Living, P.O. Box 1698, Framingham, Massachusetts, 01701.
Or you can give us a call on our voicemail. Number is toll-free, 1-800-232-7213. We'd love to hear from you. Now, up next on Time for Living, it's been a tourist playground for more than a half a century. We're heading over the border to Tijuana and Baja, Mexico. Stay with us.
thing that was made clear while on our cruise to Bermuda is that older people just love to travel.
That's right, and in a few weeks we'll be showing you some highlights of that cruise that we had on board the Royal Majesty.
That sure was fun once I developed my sea legs, that is. And speaking of fun, today's Traveling Around destination has been a fun spot for tourists for many years.
If you've ever been to Southern California, you may have been tempted to cross the border into Mexico. And that's what we're going to do today. We're headed to Tijuana and Baja Peninsula, today's Traveling Around destination. Each day, thousands of people pour across the border into Tijuana to shop, work, or play. Going into Mexico's easy, returning home may mean a wait of 3 hours or more.
The license plate for your car?
Before starting your Baja journey, you should buy Mexican auto insurance. It costs about $5 to $10 a day for full coverage. Or you can park your car and take a $5 Tijuana taxi ride into a city that's been a playground for Americans for over 60 years. A lot of people may still have an image of Tijuana being a dirty border town. Well, in some parts, especially outside the downtown area, that's still accurate. But this city's undergone a lot of changes. Foreign-owned factories have helped turn Tijuana into a city of 1.5 million. You'll find modern shopping malls, wide boulevards, a new cultural center, and a museum.
Okay, say cheese.
Of course, visitors still seem to like silly tourist things like zebra-painted burros. But the shops in Tijuana have some pretty good deals, especially on leather goods and unusual souvenirs.
Okay, lady, you guys have a deal.
From Tijuana, we traveled south down the Baja Peninsula. If you don't want to drive, there are direct flights from several cities in the western U.S. But if you do drive, gas is plentiful and costs about the same as back home. Don't be afraid of getting stuck on the road either. The Mexican government created a free road service called the Green Angels just to help tourists. They pass by every section of Highway 1 at least twice a day. Decent hotels start at $20 a night. Luxury accommodations, $100 and up per person. But meals and other perks are often included. In the summer, rates drop 20% or more. Most RV parks are between $2 and $10 a night with full facilities. Baja's water is considered better than mainland Mexico. It's often purified at good hotels, but bring bottled water along just to be on the safe side. Antibiotics and other stomach medicines are also good to have handy. When dining out, you'll find U.S. dollars accepted almost everywhere. But be warned, the sales tax is 15%. Much of Baja is still very primitive, but that, along with its people, are part of its charm. Tijuana and Baja, Mexico, today's Traveling Around destination.
Welcome back. Most of us have heard over our lifetimes what we should do in certain situations. Our parents told us what we should eat and that we should study hard. And now as we approach or enter retirement, there are various professions who tell us what we should do with our money and our time.
All of this advice is well-intentioned, of course, but there's a retirement planning technique which ignores dollars, would you believe? At least temporarily, anyway. And it deals with dreams instead. This may sound a little far-fetched because we as older Americans know that there's a cost to everything, and maybe our dreams are too expensive. However, as Time for Living Steve Burke explains, if you don't explore the possibilities, you can never put a dollar value on what you would really like to try.
Hello. When it comes to retirement planning, if we don't explore the possibilities, we can never put a dollar value, a cost, on what we would really like to try. So this is a retirement spectrum, or a list of good conservative areas to invest money when you retire. You should be aware of these investments because they have proven themselves over time, and they provide the diversification which is sensible investing. The list should be gauged by your risk tolerance. For example, CDs and money market funds are low return but very safe. The risk here is that inflation may erode the low return even farther. T-bills are the U.S. government backing up the integrity of your investment. Long-term care, or nursing home care as it's often known, protects your other retirement assets and your peace of mind. Ginnie Mae are involved in government mortgages, a pretty sound investment. Bonds, both municipal and corporate, are of the conservative investment class, the municipals being tax advantaged and corporate bonds less volatile than corporate stock. Bond funds and unit investment trusts are groups of bonds to spread the risk. Variable annuities have tax advantages and some characteristics of mutual funds, without taxes until proceeds are received on a tax-favored and/or guaranteed income basis. Regular annuities guarantee lifetime income and some tax preference. Stocks and mutual funds help offset inflation, which down the road will undoubtedly reappear. And insurance products deal with the many options available with existing or new insurance products. All conservative approaches, except stocks and mutual funds, but geared to income or the protection of same. However, today, I'd like to suggest a retirement planning approach which deals first with what you've always wanted to do or would like to try. Then budget that lifestyle or experience or trip to see if your assets properly invested will provide the funds necessary to do what you want. Those of you familiar with Time for Living have probably seen the segments on retirement trips at various costs. Should you desire a trip around the world, $25,000 to $50,000 for one person will do nicely. Or the excitement of a tax-deductible exploration with Earthwatch can provide an experience to match your dreams as a young person. What I'm suggesting, therefore, is that you consider a planning technique that reverses the ordinary strategy by setting your retirement goals, whether they be travel or going back to college, selling the house and buying an RV, or perhaps going back to the farm, instead of, we have $30,000 per year to live on, can we make it? There is no doubt that this way of looking at retirement is a real challenge, but the good news is you can return to the standard approach should you want to. Another bit of good news, you may well be surprised at how close you can come to your goals. Maybe not all of them, but you get the pick. Let me close by pointing out this is not a criticism of the professionals, but rather a different perspective of retirement planning. I'm Steve Burke, Time for Living.
Nice job, Steve. Very important information. That's Steve Burke of Coordinated Financial Planning. If you have any questions for Steve, please send them to Health, Finance, and More, care of Time for Living, Post Office Box 1698, Framingham, Massachusetts, 01701-9998. Or call on our voicemail, 1-800-232-7213.
And up next on Time for Living, the weekly check of our mailbag. Maybe we'll be reading your letter. So stay tuned and find out. We'll be right back. People have been writing and calling us here at Time for Living, and we thank you so much.
It's really nice to hear from you, and thanks for letting us know what you think about our show.
We got a call from Ken Yarborough of Sudbury, and he said, quote, "I love the program and I really like it a lot. It's such a fascinating show. It's great. And whenever I get a chance to watch it, I sit down and I am glued to my seat."
Clever of us to glue him to his seat, yeah. You know, Janet, we're always urging older folks to stay active, but I guess if you have to sit down for a while, it's a good idea to do it while you're watching Time for Living.
That's for sure. We sure do hope to hear from you, and you can drop us a line. Our address is Time for Living, P.O. Box 1698, Framingham, Massachusetts 01701.
Or you can do like Ken Yarborough did and give us a call. Our number here at Time for Living, toll free, is 1-800-232-7213. And you can call us anytime.
Coming up next, a preview of next week's show when Time for Living continues. Thanks so much for joining us today on Time for Living. We've enjoyed having you with us.
We certainly hope you'll be with us again next week when we have another exciting show planned for you.
We'll tell you all about the upcoming senior games. The cream of the crop senior athletes will be competing in Springfield, Massachusetts, and we'll tell you how they're training for the big event and how people who are not as athletically inclined can stay fit as well.
We'll also be introducing you to Ann Wolf. She stepped in to take over her husband's thriving sports and entertainment agency.
And we also have our regular features, health, finance, and more in our Traveling Around segment.
And we leave you now, and we hope you'll be back with us again next week, because we'd like you to join us right here on Time for Living.